When I was a girl growing up, there was quite a lot of expectations in terms of what kind of toys you should be playing with and what kind of like movies you should be into and what kind of clothes you should wear. They always expected me to be wearing dresses and skirts and be into all the princess Disney films, and yeah, it was a lot.
Being a girl coming from an Asian household, like having all that expectation of being like the perfect woman, I would say, it was like tough because you had to like do so much and say certain things and you were limited to so much stuff. So I would say it was like difficult.
As a child, I believe it was like a lot of expectations, especially where I grew up from my background, as in like African expectations of how like females should be like the head of the house, or like not the head of the house as bringing money, but making sure that like the house is clean, or like they make sure everything is ready for when their husbands come home. Like they should be like, especially our family, it's a thing where if you're not like, if something's going wrong, like the wife should be the one making sure things are going correctly, like especially with the house with the children, like dads are not really expected to come home and like do the homework, like that should be sorted by the wife. And cooking, all that stuff, like that's not supposed to be done by the husband. You should already be cooking from like when you know he's coming home, you should already have the food ready on the table. So that was a lot of things coming from the background of an African background, but me personally, from my family, my mum was a single parent, so obviously I had a lot of, mum had to do both roles. She had to go out make the money, and she also had to come home and also like make sure we were doing everything we need to do. So that was really more my background of a single parent background.
I had quite a few toys growing up, but I think my favourite was probably like Hot Wheels cars and the garages that used to get of them. I used to have just loads of them, just like laid out on my bedroom floor. My sister used to hate it. I think Hot Wheels were my favourite toy because it wasn't like that was a boy toy and you couldn't have garages and like all these monster trucks and stuff if you were a girl. I think that's why.
I believe it was this Bratz doll that I had one time, and my sisters, it just got passed down from my sisters, and for some reason I just remember having this toy and I really liked it because I was like, it was different because I was seeing like someone else, because the Bratz were more like different cultures, so I was seeing like a different culture in like a doll.
So I used to play with my brother's PS3. We played like Minecraft and like all the games we weren't supposed to play as like youngsters. And we also had like Hulk figurines and stuff like that. So we played with this. I played with like a pink car toy that my mom got me because, you know, you're a girl, you're supposed to have this. Played with lots of dolls and everything, Bratz, Barbie. I actually wanted to play with my brother's toys more, but like I couldn't be seen doing that. But then it would be like, you're a girl, what are you doing this for? You know? So I used to play in secret, or my brother would like let me play with him. That was the only way that was acceptable.
I think as a girl growing up, I was definitely treated differently, even by my family. So my dad is like really protective over me and my sisters, but then with my brothers, it's not as much. Even with like wider family, like cousins, I'd go to them, oh, can I come play football with you? No, you can't because you're a girl. And it always really annoyed me because it was like, well, I'm probably better at football than you are, even though I am a girl. So it was just quite annoying. It was quite pressuring almost because it was like I had to kind of meet these, otherwise I wasn't a girl per se. It was more like, oh, well, you must be a boy because you don't like princess dresses and them like little plastic heels that you used to get that had like the princess on them and things like that.
My brothers, I would say, had more opportunities than me. So they were allowed to go to the shops, like the corner shops, by themselves when they were 8. But whereas me, it was like, no, it's gonna be a man and he's gonna come get you. So why would you want to do that? Growing up as a girl, it was like tough. It was like the most difficult thing to do because of all the pressure that you had to go through.
I still believe that towards our other male members in our family, the women were expected to do a lot more. Like, okay, even if you're going to school, you should be still expected to like make sure you're coming home, make sure the kitchen's clean, stuff like that. And even though my brother was also expected to do these things as well, it was more like there was more emphasis on the women to make sure the house is clean and everything is ready. I would think it's tradition. Like, it goes back to the tradition. Like, if even history as well has to play a part of it, because the guys were always expected, the men, they're expected to go out, make the money. The women were supposed to cook, like, as people say, the guys were supposed to buy the bacon, bring home the bacon. The women were supposed to make it. Like, that was kind of how it used to be.
As a girl, if you do speak up, it's almost like there's them cliche phrases where it's like, oh, she must be on her period because she's angry and she's like saying something back. Whereas no, like it's my opinion, I'm allowed to voice it. Whereas if a boy says what he thinks, he's just saying how he feels and he's not angry, it's just the normal.
I guess it's the usual thing, I guess, like what everyone faces, like, you know, you can't do this because you're a girl. You can't go there because you're a girl. You can't wear certain things because, you know, there's people looking at you. Why would you dress like that? You know, stuff like that. So yeah, there were barriers, but I don't know. I feel like every young woman has barriers, pretty much. I feel like it's more tradition and culture and like the backwards thinking of some people. Like, for example, people in my family, like they have like the whole 1950 mindset of like women are supposed to be in the house and blah blah. So I feel like that's why we were trained differently, like me and my cousin, than our brothers or male cousins, whatever.
Honestly, I think to be a woman is to be powerful and independent, and honestly to just not be afraid to say what you're thinking and to do what you want to do despite anyone that says anything different, because even though you are a woman, you're still human.
I think being a woman now is come in many different forms. I think they come with many different opinions, many different bases on life. Because I would say I wouldn't say I'm traditional, but I'm like more on the whole like family like based. I'm very family based. I like, you know, husband wife, but I don't feel like husband and wife should be like, oh, you should only, that should be your life. Women they can have lives. They can have a job. Many women in my life, they have a lot of jobs. They do high power roles. Like, I think you can have a family and you can also have a good job. You can provide for your family. You could be a breadwinner. This is what I think women can do now. There's so many different ways to have a family. So like people don't even think necessarily going to a child is the one way to have a family. There's many different ways you can have a family. You could be a family of you and your husband. You could be a family with 40 people in your house. So I think there's many different ways, especially in our generation. I don't think necessarily now you need to have a child to be a mother or you need to have a child to be a family. So I don't really think it's a standard anymore.
When I was growing up, I really looked up to my great grandma, and I still do. She's 95 and does not take no for an answer. She's lived through a world war. She's had kids that have moved to America, and I think in total she's got about 42 grandkids and great grandkids. It's a lot of us, but she's very independent. She's always, like, even when she was told not to in the 50s, 60s, even before that, she would still go out and work for herself as well as look after her 3 kids and all of her grandkids as well. And I just feel like I want to be that independent and just kind of say, no, I'm gonna do what I want to do for me, not for anyone else.
I would say I looked up to my mother. I believe I looked up to my mom quite a lot because even though she was raising her whole family in a different country, she didn't really know, but she still was strong. She still had to do both of the roles, which I think is something also that's not really expected for guys. Like if there's a single dad, they're not really expected to also be very much doing the same roles as a mother, but like when it's a woman, they're expected to do both or even expected to do more. So I think she was very independent, made her way to do what she needs to do and make sure that her family was taken care of to do what she needed to do, basically.
I didn't look up to anyone, to be honest. I didn't look up to anyone. There wasn't any like person in my life for me to look up to. But like now, I look up to my sister-in-law, who's like this independent woman, and she does what she wants to do. And she's just like so free and open, and she's like blunt about everything. So I look up to her now. Like, that's one person I generally look up to.
Where do I see myself? Hopefully, I'm doing my doctorate. I have a good job. I'm working in maybe with the, I don't know, maybe working with the Ministry of Defense, all this kind of stuff. I don't know.
In 10 years, honestly, I see myself working for a big media company, hopefully BBC or ITV Channel 4, something like that, leading over a big group of people if possible. I know that's hard to get there, but I'm determined to do it, and I will do it.
In 10 years, I see myself traveling around the world, definitely not sticking to one place. I see myself having a good career, you know, being successful, being with my friends, like even from like 7 years ago, still being friends with them. Being an auntie, definitely. That's pretty much it. Definitely no marriage, no kids.